What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Another stream today. If you guys weren't sick of us yet, you might be sick of us after this one. This stream will be a bit shorter, probably around an hour is what I'm planning on, considering we streamed for 4 hours earlier today. Welcome in. The Blazers take care of the Miami Heat with a 125-122 win. They were down 10 points in the fourth quarter, but fought their way back. Damian Lillard hits 3 free throws in the final second in order to clinch this one after former Blazer Trevor Ariza fouls him on a step-back game-winning three-point attempt. CJ McCollum had a huge first half in this one. He had 29 points in the first half, finished with only 35. It was much quieter the second half, but a good game from CJ nonetheless. And Enes Kanter had some very huge moments down the stretch, including multiple offensive rebounds, a kick out to Robert Covington for a go-ahead 3 in the final 2 minutes, a putback of his own, and his Kanter was huge down the stretch as well. So what's going on? Welcome in. Appreciate you guys joining us once again for a lot of you. Hopefully you enjoyed the trade deadline stream earlier today. If you want our thoughts on that trade deadline stream, or if you want our thoughts on Norman Powell, go watch that trade deadline stream. I will timestamp it after this stream with the Norman Powell signing. But it was about an hour and 20 minutes in-ish if you want our reactions on that. But hopefully your guys' days have been going well. I took a nap. I'm refreshed. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to cover this one. So, 503 on Twitter called it an embarrassing win. Travis Demers doesn't like that. I don't think this was... I don't know. It wasn't a super high-quality win. You know, they're missing Jimmy Butler. They're missing Goran Dragic. It was a very depleted Miami team that we struggled with, but we were able to get the win. That's definitely a good thing. We will have Nurkic returning tomorrow. Maybe Norman Powell making his Blazer debut tomorrow. So we will gain some talent for sure going into this weekend. So overall, just nice that we could scratch and claw our way into a win in this game, especially a game that looked like it might have been lost there when we were down 110-100. So Eric, what are the emotions from this game? Yes. Oh my goodness, I keep forgetting to unmute you. I'm just gonna troll you every day with that.
I'm literally just going to every time ask if I'm unmuted before I start.
Okay, that's twice today. Normally that's not a thing. Normally I'm pretty good about
No, it's
that.
been like 10 times in a row.
Man, well, might happen some more. And I'm gonna tell you, yeah, you're unmuted, and then you're gonna start talking, and they're gonna be like, he's muted.
Yeah.
But
no, I would have thought that would have been an embarrassing loss. There was no excuses if we lost this game, and I feel like we play so dumb, and we just make it so hard on ourselves, and we have the talent to overcome that and pull out a victory. Obviously, we did that tonight. So yeah, it's to the point where we have to just rely on like clutch plays and just someone getting hot to remain somewhat close to in striking distance, and then just like taking over at the end. But yeah, it's the degree of difficulty on some of these wins that should have probably been a lot easier had we been a little better prepared for a team like this that's missing several of their key players. I think we could, rest Dame for longer stretches of this game, things like that. That would make it easier for us to play against better teams when we play them. But I don't know. I'm frustrated, but I'm really happy. Once again, we're talking about a win rather than a loss.
yeah, the Blazers moved to 26-18 after this win. The Miami Heat fall below 500 to 22-23. And as far as some team statistics go, the Blazers shot the ball very, very well today. They shot 44% from the three-point line. They were 20 for 46. They were 44 for 92 from the field, good for 48%. They were 17 for 19 from the free throw line, good for about 90%. So Efficiency-wise, they shot the ball very well. They didn't turn over the ball much, only 10 turnovers. Offensive rebounds, they got 10 of them despite shooting the ball very well. And Enes Kanter accounted for 9 of those 10. Enes Kanter had a big game with 18 points and 16 rebounds. So offensively, terrific game. You score 125 points on the Heat. Defensively, very bad game. You give up 56% from the field. That's what the Heat shot. The Heat also shot 47% from 3 and 92% from the free throw line. So the fact that we give up those shooting clips and still won is kind of impressive, I guess, but it's also like, can we please figure out how to play a little bit of defense? It's getting frustrating just watching this team just go on stretches where they just can't defend anything. So they had a good first quarter, held them to 24 points, and then the next 3 quarters after that, 34 points, 33 points, 31 points. So, it's just a typical Blazers. It's a typical, frustrating Blazers win, so to say, where the offense looks great. You got offensive talent on this team, and then defensively they can't defend. Typical.
Yeah, so in case you missed it, Terry Stotts was interviewed after that first quarter, which they didn't really play great defense, I thought, in the first quarter. But anyways, he was asked about the defense and what they needed to do to improve it. And this is my problem with Stotts, both with the offense and the defense. So his answer was basically like, well, we've played defense for good stretches and at times when we've needed to, so I know it's in there. It's just a matter of having it come out, So, this guy just thinks that it's all of a sudden going to magically transform into the whole game instead of just for stretches. And you cannot do it that way. You have to be more prepared. You have to have better game plans. In the fourth quarter of a game, we should have more talent then. We're sitting here, 3 minutes left. We're still dropping 15 feet off of Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero coming around picks on the 3-point line. And some of those possessions were without Kanter in the game when we went small to defend that. And we were still not getting out on their only 2 shooters in the game at the time. It's inexplicable. I don't understand how we continue to just run drop schemes against some of the best shooters in the league. And I don't get it at all. I don't understand how an NBA coach is capable of not seeing how horrible his schemes are and doing something about it. And it's absolutely going to cost us at some point. We had to make a change just to overcome that, with the trade today. Personnel will help. That does make you play better defense. But if we're giving up that much space to good players in the playoffs, that's absolutely going to come back to bite us.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that with Nurkic back, Stotts feels more comfortable having him hedge or trap or whatever. I don't know. I'm not counting on that, but, maybe. That's the most optimistic way I can spin it. Because you look at the rosters that were on the floor tonight, the lineups that were on the floor. The Blazers had a far, far more talented lineup. Let's not lie to ourselves. The Blazers had a far more talented lineup. That's the positive aspect of it. The negative aspect of it was they almost lost this game to a far inferior lineup, in my opinion. I mean, outside of Bam Adebayo, you got a bunch of okay-ish role players. Their second best player is probably Tyler Hero, who had 29 points today, but I'm not super high on him, man. I mean, we're out here with Rocco. We're out here with CJ and Dame and Ennis and Melo, and I thought Little had some good minutes tonight. I mean, I don't know. We had a far more superior lineup. Dame obviously struggled, but it wasn't an offensive issue. You look at him going 6 for 19. Sure, if he shoots the ball well, maybe we score 135 points. I don't know, but it shouldn't have to come down to that. I would like to see us play better defense, and I'm still waiting on some consistency in that regard. I tweeted out a stat. Gordon gave us the stat, and I ended up tweeting it out. And it was the Blazers are 4 points. I think the 29th worst defense since the All-Star break. Their defensive rating is about 117.4. and our defensive rating is like 121.6 since the All-Star break. So not only are we in last place in terms of defense since the All-Star break, we aren't even close to the team ahead of us. So we got to figure things out. Getting Norman Powell, I think that's a defensive upgrade over Gary Trent Jr. Nurkic is a upgrade over Enes Kanter. So like you would think, even if they're going to run the same schemes that hopefully will be a little bit better just because of the increase in personnel, but schematically this wasn't a well-coached game. There's been a couple games in the past month where I'd say schematically it was a well-coached defensive game, but tonight definitely wasn't one of them. We let them get going based off dropping the big, and it was frustrating to see because that's something we're easily in control with, and we could easily switch things up and we could easily throw something else out there, and instead we just kind of dropped throughout the entire game, and they had good success against it.
Yeah. The other thing is, too, once we get Powell tomorrow, or Sunday if it's till Sunday, so you have Powell, you have Little, Rocco, Derek Jones, maybe I don't know who else you'd throw in there. But that's 4 guys who should be in there on possessions where we need a defensive stop, and we have we have a timeout we're going to use after the play. There's no excuse to have like Dame, CJ, and only like 1 or 2 of those guys in the game, and have like an offensive lineup in those situations. So now that he has another excellent defender to add to those main 3 guys, and you have a guy like Little emerging as one of those players as well, and then if we get someone off the buyout market, a wing as well, then those are the type of situations where you put those 5 players in the game. You can switch all picks. You can trap if you want to. You have flexibility to do whatever you want schematically on defense and throw all kinds of different looks at another team. But if we continue to just like leave shooters open, let Bam just roll on every pick and catch the ball 10 feet from the hoop and have an open lane to drive or pass out of it, like that, we're just going to continue to struggle on defense. And it's the personnel does, like I said, help. The better defenders you have, the better they can make a bad scheme look. But until we fix these schematical issues, it's not gonna. We can have the best 5 defensive players out there, and they're still gonna struggle to get stops on defense.
Yep. So that's something to watch this weekend as we get Norman Powell, bring him into the fold, and then get Yusuf Nurkic back. What do we run schematically? Honestly, whatever we run schematically is probably not going to matter against our next opponent, which is the Orlando Magic. I mean, that is a team that just traded away their 3 best players. Their remaining 2 best players in Fultz and Isaac are out for the season. Their new best player is Terrence Ross, I guess. That lineup is terrible. That's the worst lineup in the league at this point. So, I mean, it's nice for the Blazers to get this win tonight to move to 26-18. I feel pretty comfortable thinking we're 27-18, but obviously can't count the chickens before they hatch, and this Blazers team has had some big letdown games. So, I mean, obviously it's not a sure thing, but this is probably going to be, you get Nurkic back, and you go against this depleted Orlando team, and you got CJ back, and CJ's coming off a good game. Feel pretty good about our chances no matter what we do schematically in that next game. So, maybe throw some different things out there because it's probably all going to be decently successful with how bad their lineup is. Just to throw some different looks out there and work on it and see how Nurkic looks. Maybe trapping or something. I don't know. That's something that I would like to see. But overall, after the Magic game, I'm going to be curious to see if they change up philosophically with Yusuf Nurkic as their starting center.
Yeah, the thing we have going for us against the Magic is their lineup that they'll throw out there tomorrow has no players who are even above average playmaking out of the pick and roll. So
I thought you were going to say above average in general, and I was agreeing with that.
So like in the pick and roll, we should have no problem schematically stopping it, just based on the fact that they don't have dynamic playmakers or a lights out shooter coming off those picks that we saw tonight, or like they're probably going to play Bomba at the 5 or whatever. Like those guys are okay, but they're not going to. They shouldn't be able to overwhelm our defense if it is overwhelming for our defense. Like, that is very troublesome. So hopefully we see this team a little more locked in on that end and just really put their foot down and just win the game on the defensive end and let their offense do their thing on the other end.
Yep. So
I have a question for you real quick.
Go ahead.
Before we get on.
Hit me with it.
Would you consider resting Dame, considering how bad he looked physically tonight?
If he needs to be rested, then yes. If rest isn't going to help much, then no. Like, that's based. Training staff should be able to get the answer in the context of that to make the right decision. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, though. You got CJ back to kind of run the ship. If Norman Powell is playing, you start Norman Powell next to CJ. And honestly, I mean, I don't know. I kind of wish we had Norman Powell early in the season, because I know, like, Gary Trent Jr. is great, but, like, CJ and Norman Powell is actually, like, I feel like would maybe be a top 10 starting backcourt in the league. That's a really good starting backcourt without Damian Lillard. It's impressive.
Yeah, so Block Boy, I keep seeing you say Dame's been bad, but like, are you going to give the injuries and the fact that he's playing through that any credit, or is that just something that you're not willing to do? Because he's obviously struggling.
Yeah, if Melo was hurt like this, he would be making the excuses for Melo, but he's not going to make them for Dame. So it's just the way it is. Mr. Pyan, $2 donation, appreciate it. Why is Giles not playing? Ennis too slow on D. I would like to see Giles play more, but Stott seems completely against that. So feel bad for Giles. This is kind of how I felt like his season was going to go, and he was going to regret signing here, and I think he probably does.
And let me just say this right now for the record. You can timestamp this 19 minutes in. For all those people who say Giles sucks, he's unplayable, he's lost on defense, he doesn't know what to do, he makes too many mistakes. Oh, well, I thought our coach was really good at developing players. I thought our coach was, the type that would get a guy like that to play better once he's in Portland versus on other teams. So why is it that now we're over halfway into the season and he hasn't improved at all in those things and isn't worthy of getting in the game and playing time a little bit and showing some of those improvements that our phenomenal developmental coach has instituted in his brain by this point in the season?
Yeah. I mean, great point. Honestly, I think Giles is still extremely talented. He hasn't been used correctly. He's better at hedging, trapping pick and rolls than being dropped. He has a lot of playmaking ability that we haven't tapped into at all. He's never really seemed comfortable out there in our offense. And comfort level is a big thing, new player, but it's just the offense isn't like the type of offense that I feel like he functions in. He functions well in an offense that would move the ball. So, still has a ton of talent. We're misusing him. He's not comfortable in our stagnant offense. That's basically what it comes down to. People, it's just a lot of people basing Harry Giles off of the limited stuff that they've seen from him this year in a situation that's obviously not good for him at this point. I watched him before he came to Portland. He's better than what he's shown. It's a situational thing that's kind of holding him back, in my opinion. Shout out Arvaro, $2 dono. Powell was arguably better than Spicy P this year. You could probably make that argument. And shout out Michael Flor-Delis for the $5 dono. Says, always enjoy your takes. Irked at all the articles overrating GT slightly and underrating Norm's D and saying he's too undersized despite the 6'11" wingspan. Yeah, he has a almost 8'7" standing reach. That's pretty solid. You gotta look, honestly, standing reach is better for determining like size out there on the court than height is. You don't play basketball with the top of your head, you play basketball with your hands. You know what I mean? Like, if you're contesting a shot, your standing reach matters more than where your head is. So if you're going for a rebound, you ain't catching the ball with your head, you're catching it with your hands. You're reaching up, catching it with your hands. So wingspan, standing reach matters just as much, if not more, than height.
Yep, completely agree. And for the people saying that no one says that about Giles, I have an example tonight I'm trying to find, but I've been told that several times. Every time I say, well, they could put in Giles for a little bit. I've been told numerous occasions by numerous different people that Giles is lost on defense and cannot play a minute if we want to win games.
Yeah, it just drives me crazy. But yeah, so let's look at things kind of individually. As I said, this is going to be a shorter stream. I spent a ton of time on graphics in the past 24 hours, so hopefully you guys will be able to excuse me for not doing the player graphics for this one.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, man, I just gotta step up. I have you muted at the start of streams, and I'm not doing these graphics, man. What's wrong with me? CJ McCollum, 35 points. 8 assists as well, so he was making plays. Nice to see him have 8 assists. 14 for 25 from the field, 6 for 14 from the three-point line. He was 8 for 11 inside the arc. It's nice to see him have such a high level of efficiency inside the arc, as well as, he started off from 3 hot, cooled off a little bit in the second half. But overall, just a fantastic game from CJ. He said on the post-game interview that he is 90% of the way back. He just needs to be better in the fourth quarter. He's still kind of getting his wind back to the point where he feels like he can produce in the fourth quarter. So if he was fully in the swing of things, maybe this is probably a 40-point game. He probably is better in the second half. But I mean that's what he said on the TNT postgame show.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Just real quick, thank you to Reese for getting me that. It's not the video, but he got me an article about the Olshey comments, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, surprised there's not a video on that. Anything you want to say about McCollum's performance?
Yeah, CJ, obviously first half he kept us in this game. Without him, we would have been down double digits at halftime and might not have had enough in the tank there at the end to get back into the game. His second half was really brutal. Outside of he had a couple of nice passes, including the one for the go-ahead bucket with Derek Jones Jr. getting the and one. So I'd love to see that on a drive in that situation, game on the line. Usually CJ takes a tough shot in that situation, so I liked him. He kind of lost the ball on the way up, so if he didn't do that, I think he might have shot it. But he made the right play there. Derek Jones was wide open, and we got 3 points out of it. And the way that worked, being down 1 and then going up 2 in that situation, completely changed the complexion of the game because they got 2s or a 2 from Bam after that. And instead of being down 1 again, we were tied. So that was a huge play by CJ. I love to see that assist number go up. I want it to be around 5 assists a game, if not higher. I think he's capable of that, especially tonight was a little weird because he was so hot in the first quarter. Stotts left him in, which I thought was the right decision. Mm-hmm. And then Dame came in and played at the beginning of the second quarter. But big surprise, we struggle at the beginning of the second quarter to score again. We get too stagnant with that lineup. So I'd like to see CJ just completely take over as a playmaker first in that second unit and a shooter second. And, he can get into the lane whenever he wants. So do that and use that to create offense since we don't have creative sets. So I just wish he would use that a little more to pass, but I can't complain about it tonight when he has 8 assists and over 30 points. It's just a really good overall game, even though his shots weren't falling in the second half.
Yep, agreed on that one. Dame has 9 assists to go with his 22 points. He was 6 for 19, 2 for 8 from 3. As far as Dame goes, he was not able to get off many clean looks today. Everybody, he's playing so bad. It's just look at the difficulty of the shots he's having to take. It's insanely difficult shots. So him having a 6 for 19 game, it's insane that he doesn't have more of them given the types of shots he has to take. There's nothing systematically that utilizes him off the ball that frees him up for open shots. It's basically him just creating against a set defense all the time, whether it's out of isolation or pick and roll. So a game like this, everybody's, oh, Dame's so bad today. It's like, just relax with that. Games like these will happen occasionally. He still has 22 points on 19 shots. He was able to get to the free throw line 8 times, made all 8 of his free throws, including the 3 clutch ones to seal the deal. Came up with some impressive defensive plays down the stretch too. There was a couple defensive plays that stood out where one, like right after he got hurt, and there was that timeout where he was having his knee worked on, and then immediately comes out on defense and strips the ball from Gabe Vincent as he drove, and the ball went off Vincent's knee, so that was a turnover that he forced. I believe he took a charge at some point there in the second half as well, if I recall correctly, but I remember being like he was struggling defensively throughout the game, and then in the second half there were moments where he stepped up and played some good defensive possessions, and that's kind of thing with Dame. He'll have moments where he looks like a good defender, and then he'll have moments where he falls asleep. So overall, I think people just need to chill sometimes when Dame is shooting, not having the best shooting night.
Yeah, and his problems are that he just falls asleep too much, and it's at times an effort issue, and at times he's arguing a call or something and doesn't get back on D. That happened several times again tonight, especially in the first half. And he's trying to get to the lane. He doesn't have that same burst that he normally has when he's injured, so he's not getting clean looks, and he feels like he's getting fouled. And then he's standing around arguing, or he's on the floor not getting up arguing, and those kind of plays are just killers when you're trying to have a good defense. And then there was a play right after Hero hit a 3 in the first half. Next possession down, Dame doesn't find him in time and runs to the wrong spot, and then they just one pass to Hero, he's wide open, no one's guarding him for an easy 3, and got him going with 2 easy 3s in the first half of this game. So yeah, he's got to find a way to not be the link that always breaks the chain, or not always, but on key plays he's got to be the link that supports the defense, not breaks it, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah. It's just funny how, there's people out there that if Melo, doesn't shoot the ball well 3 games in a row and you just point it out, they'll freak out. But then, Dame's playing poorly. Dame's just playing poorly. 3 bad games in a row. It's like, dude, the dude's giving you 30 and 8 on good efficiency. Let him have 3 games, you know what I mean? Just relax with that. He's banged up, he's nicked up, he's having to take insanely difficult shots, Melo has Dame create open shots for him a lot of times, man. Nobody is creating open shots for Dame, so just relax with that type of stuff.
We're going to see this more and more, too. So I thought Portland did a decent job tonight of not using pick and roll when Dame was getting trapped. But the problem is they were still trapping with the second guy, and it was often off of CJ's guy. And so we do the cross-court pass to CJ. But as you've pointed out a million times on the clipboard, it's too slow to develop, and by the time CJ catches the ball, the defender's already back on his guy, and they've rotated back into spots, and you have no advantage. So they have to find a way, if they're going to have a guy without a screen sag up and eventually double team Dame if he tries to drive to the middle, there has to be a way to get the open shooters the ball immediately in that situation and get an open shot. And until they exploit that better, Dame's going to continue to get trapped. And it doesn't matter if we have Aaron Gordon or whatever. We need to be able to take advantage of that. And you want the other team to double you in those situations. And Melo tonight, too, had several times where he got doubled, saw the double team coming, and still turned baseline and shot it anyway. But the problem is even if he wanted to pass, there's no open people because they're all standing too close together. The spacing's terrible, and one guy can guard 2 people even if they have a double team. So between those 2 things, when they double Melo or double Dame, you even saw CJ get doubled a few times tonight when he was in there and Dame was out of the game. This is a problem with how we attack it or how we're not aggressive against those situations. Not a problem with not having the right personnel, in my opinion.
Yep, agreed with that. Shout out to Sean Paul, $5 dono. Stotts was outcoached by Spoelstra for sure. Do you think Norman will be in the lineup to close games? I think there's a good chance Norman Powell will be in lineups to close games. Honestly, it probably depends on whether he or Melo is having a better offensive game, because I think they want Rocco in there, and then, you'll have Nurkic in there likely, and Dame and CJ. So it'll come down to, maybe Rocco at the 3, Melo at the 4 if he's having a hot game, or, if Norman Powell's outplaying Melo, then Norman Powell will close the game at the 3 and Rocco at the 4 is what I would expect. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm guessing some games, if we're down and we need offense, it might even be Rocco that gets benched sometimes. But he's been hitting the 3 really well lately. As long as he continues to hit the 3 closer to 40% than 30%, I think you can trust him in those situations. Hit another clutch one tonight as well.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Mike B, $5 dono. Good win, but could be better. Inexcusable to play Giles. I assume he means inexcusable to not play Giles. Nothing Kanter could do. I'm fully confident that Stotts has no input in the Giles signing. Yeah, I mean, we see this with guys in the past too, where Stotts wants to play the... I don't know, just doesn't... I don't know, there's young guys where it's just like he's against playing them. I mean, Nasir Little last year was a far better option than Anthony Tolliver and Mario Hezonja, let's just be honest. I know he was a rookie, and I know his shot was still busted last year, but it was a far better option. But, Stotts rode with Hezonja and Tolliver as long as he could. I've kind of had that feeling. I don't really remember who, but I've kind of had that feeling in the past, where it's just like... certain guys seem like they should be getting at least just spot minutes, man. At least just spot minutes, but they don't. But Kanter was good tonight, though. That's the thing. It's not like... shouldn't necessarily come at the expense of Kanter. Kanter ended up playing... let me see his minutes. He ended up playing 33 minutes tonight. I think that's a good amount. He wasn't in foul trouble. He only had 2 fouls. He ended up pouring in 18 points, 16 rebounds, 8 for 11 from the field. Like, that's a pretty good game from Kanter. I think, There's times where we go small, where it's just like just put Giles out there instead of Ant next to CJ. We'll put Ant next to CJ or Ant next to Dame with a bench lineup, and move our forwards up to play the center spot. And I'd rather just keep our guys in their more natural positions and play Giles at times. Not to say I don't know. Tonight, Simons drops 3 for 6 in from the 3-point line, so he had a good shooting game. Also had 2 assists, 2 rebounds. So I mean, maybe it worked out tonight. I want to see Giles get the chance I think he deserves.
Yeah, and so Lockwise says we shouldn't be running drop scheme, but when we do, Kanter still plays it wrong. You think that he would continue to be that far back if that's not what he's being instructed to do? That's crazy, man. Like, we've watched this team for 9 years now under Stotts. This is how he runs his defense. It doesn't matter. We had Mason Plumlee, one of the best trapping bigs in the game, and he would be in the same spots defensively. It's not Kanter. It's not Nurk. It's not Whiteside. It's not any of these guys. It's not Giles when he's in there doing the wrong things. It's where the reason why they look lost or it looks so bad is because they know that they're in the wrong spot, that this is bad defense, and they have to do it because that's what their coach expects them to do. And a guy like Giles knows that he's not good standing in the key waiting for someone to get ahead of steam and come right at him, or not having to help on the guard and letting his guy go for a lob. These guys are not good at doing that, and no one really is. And you can drop a little bit, but how far we were dropping tonight was just insane considering the level of shooters coming off those picks. And it's something that Stotts has done in 9 years. It's crazy to me. And Kanter, he's not even a good rim protector. So, like, what are you having him stay by the rim for? Like, I don't get it. Like, he's not protecting the rim. So, like, at least trap and try to force turnovers or whatever. Because when they dribble at him, they're scoring almost every time. So, like, dropping isn't working. It'd be one thing if it was like kind of effective, and we were managing to have an okay defense just because like it was kind of working and this was the best we can do, but like it's not working dropping either. So like I don't get it. I don't get it at all. We trapped a couple times aggressively, one time in particular, twice overall, I think. And I think it worked both times, getting the ball out of a shooter's hands and forcing a bad shot. So yeah, I don't get why we continue to drop that far. And it makes no sense to me. We're putting the guy getting screened at a severe disadvantage. He has no chance in those situations against good playmakers, and I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah. Shout out to Isaac Figueroa for the $2 dono. Norman will most likely start in spot of Derrick Jones Jr. or Rocco. I don't think Norman will start. I think he could definitely end a lot of games. I don't think he'll start, though.
I think you might want to listen to Olshay's comments before.
I've heard Olshay's comments, but that doesn't mean that he's going to start. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like, Derrick Jones Jr. has been playing well. He fits what we need in the starting lineup to a T, I feel like. And especially with Nurkic coming back and Nurkic's playmaking, like, you got great cutter, great finisher, great lob target there in Derrick Jones Jr. You need that, like, bigger wing defender next to Dame and CJ. So if they start Powell, I question that a lot. Because then here's the thing. It's like, if you start Powell at the 3, Derrick Jones Jr. is the backup 3, that means you have to play Anthony. I would rather play Nas than Anthony. I'd rather play Norman Powell with the backup 2 with CJ off the bench behind Dame, and then that leaves minutes at the backup 3 behind Derrick Jones Jr. for Nasir Little. I think that's the way to go. I want Norman to come off the bench. I think he should come off the bench, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that.
Well, you could stagger them still. Yeah, there's different things you can do. But, Chris, that's funny. Yeah, can we get into these comments since we started talking about it?
Since you started talking about it, go ahead. Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about something else?
Nah, go ahead. You got it.
So I just want to talk about real quick the first thing he says. So in this article, Jason Quick, The Athletic, check it out. So Olshay's first comments were, we had to shake things up. Things were starting to look stale.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Block Boy comments. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to hear this. Yes.
So we're starting to look stale. We have how many new people this year? I don't get it. I mean, we have Derrick Jones. We have Robert Covington. We have Cantor back for a second time.
Eric. We've complained about his lack of inactivity, so I mean, I don't know how much we could complain about, like him feeling things got stale, so I made a move.
No, but like, here's my problem. It's stale because we're watching the same schemes that he said he wanted differently, right, this year? Mm-hmm. So like, I don't get it. If it's stale, force the coach or force a change of the coach or force control over to someone who can change things schematically so we look differently. But this is going back to the whole definition of insanity thing, is doing the same thing no matter what personnel we have. It's not going to change how we look on the floor until we start playing the right way and playing a better style of basketball that this team is not doing. So like, I don't get why, if it looks stale, it's a personnel thing, because like we've tried now several different lineups. So, like, we've made it to the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, we couldn't keep everyone from that team, so we kind of transformed the team, turn it over to like Hood and Collins and stuff like that. But like, nothing changes. Then we go to another iteration of this team this year, and it's still the same problems haunting us. So like, I don't understand it being stale. I just don't get it.
Zach says, I think he's hinting at that, Eric.
Yeah, but like, this is my problem, is he mentioned how it needed to change at the beginning of the season, and now here we are at the trade deadline still saying it's stale and it needs to change, right? So I don't understand why it's still continuing this way. I just don't get it.
Yeah. What else does he say?
All right, so he said our job is to make the team better. We think our team got better. I agree with that. Um, we don't take a step back offensively, and I think he will infuse the defense with more energy. To have a shot creator as well as a catch and shoot guy who can defend the 1 through 3, it's going to be a big addition for us. So, yeah, so nothing schematically is going to change. We just have a guy who's going to infuse some energy on that end. Yeah. Fine. I mean, I'll wait and see, but yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't know.
I couldn't rely on Nurk's return to kick us into gear. We had too much invested into this season, so they are obviously in win now mode.
That's a different tone than he said last year.
Yeah.
You know, Nurk is just like a trade deadline acquisition.
Right.
So maybe he's learning. Maybe he's learning from his his mistakes and whatnot. And maybe he's learning that Stotts isn't the right coach for this team. That's also what I'm hoping.
Okay, this makes me happy too. So we know with our owner, she will do whatever it takes to win. Oh, by the way, quick. Also, I heard him on radio last week saying that Jody watches every game and she's very motivated by seeing the results of what you're telling her to do. So, like, if you're telling her that making this trade or having this coach or whatever will result in this, she wants you to, fulfill that. And if not, she asks questions, well, why is this, for example, the defense? You brought in these two guys defensively this summer. Why are we not better on defense? So she's asking those type of questions, and I think that's really good. And he also made a point to say that he doesn't think she's looking to sell or anything like that, that he thinks she is invested in this team.
Sounds like she's like an actual owner, man. I mean, if she's watching every game and she's asking those types of questions, I mean, that's what an owner, what an invested owner would do. So, I don't know. It's kind of been like, oh, well, she's just a placeholder until the team sells. Has always been the feeling, but that doesn't seem like she's a placeholder. It seems like she's pretty invested in operating like a normal owner would. So, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool if that's the case.
And here's the thing, it's the perfect scenario in my opinion if she holds Olshey and Stotts accountable, because she lets them do their thing and then questions why it doesn't work out. Like and I think that's the perfect way to do it. It's not meddling. She lets them. She's like, okay, you say this will work. This will result in this. And then she looks at the results and says, you said that this would do this, this, and this. Why is the defense still so crappy? I love that approach. And I was really excited to hear that. Not necessarily because I want Olshey to be fired, but like I'm hoping that, I mean, if he can't see that and doesn't realize that the coaching has been a problem and isn't evaluating it the same way, then he needs to go too. But I think overall, I think it's good to have someone who lets the personnel people be in charge of the personnel, the coaching be in charge of the coaching, but then also stays on top of them to make sure that they're being accountable for what they say they're going to do and stuff like that. So
yeah, I wonder if Olshey is, when he's being asked those questions, I wonder if his answer is just, well, Stotts can't figure it out. He hasn't really been able to coach defense his entire tenure here. Probably should have let go of him a while ago.
Yeah, I don't think he has the ability to say I messed up by giving him an extension. I think it's like, well, we've had injuries and that kind of stuff. But welcome Isaac Figueroa to All-Star level. Thank you, man. Welcome to the club. This next part of this statement says, where is it? Olshey says, finances will never impede our ability to compete, and we will be aggressive in the summer, but we felt we also needed to shake things up now. So that leads me to believe that this was not a rental and that we're going to look to continue to. It was a good thing to stay into the tax. What we were hoping for, it wasn't just a financial thing. It was like an actual decision, knowing that they were going to have to probably go deep into the tax in following seasons to stay out of the repeater tax. So it sounds like, based on his comments, that they will be willing to spend money this year.
He's been much more aggressive in terms of just making moves. Without Paul Allen overseeing things, you have to wonder if how much Paul Allen affected his prior deal making. It sounds aggressive this summer. Sounds good to me, man. We will have you guys covered, and we would love that. Makes for good content, and it's fun. So we'll see what they can do this upcoming summer. Shout out Alvaro for becoming a starter level member. Appreciate Alvaro. Welcome. So other than that, individual players, Carmelo had 20 off the bench, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Or was there more from that article? Did I just cut you off?
We haven't gotten to the Powell part of it yet.
Yeah, okay. Say the Powell part of it. And we'll go.
So, Olshey said that basically it'll be like Lillard and McCollum was with Curry, Shabazz, or Steve Blake, but with Powell as the third guard, that's like the 3-guard lineup on steroids. And then he said, losing Trent and Hood was tough. We're going to miss having them around. But he was eager to get Powell in, and noted that Powell is always in his defensive stance, ready to guard. He's a really good two-way player, kind of what we need. His shooting numbers speak for themselves, but what he can do defensively on the perimeter is something that we really need and value. He is going to have a major role with our team. And so that was kind of it for the Powell part of it. And then the hope is that Powell, this is from Quick saying this, the hope is Powell is exactly what the team needs and falls in love with Portland and the culture where playing basketball takes precedent over nightlife and weather. If not, and they lose him, ? Olshey says we'll find a way to work around it. But yeah, it makes me think that he is planning on trying all he can to sign him. He also said we didn't sacrifice shooting. We got better defensively, became more athletic, and we have the ability to have 2 high-level defenders on the court at all times now between Norman, Robert Covington, Derek Jones, and Nurk. Olshey said we got better.
Yeah, I mean, that's all facts. Like that interview. People thinking Norm Powell leave it's just crazy to me. They're not paying the tax this year, so they can pay the tax next year, so they don't have to deal with repeater tax penalties when they end up having to pay the tax. So they're gonna be willing to shell out money for Norman Powell. Probably more willing to shell out money for Norman Powell than they were for Gary Trent Jr., considering the fact that they just traded Trent for Powell. It's like we said, we couldn't lose Trent for nothing. We get Norman Powell back. Sure, he might end up leaving, but it's a very good calculated risk, in my opinion.
Here's the deal. If we had Trent, and we were going to re-sign Trent, and moving forward, why wouldn't that be also a 3-guard lineup on steroids, right? So that tells me that he's much more confident with Powell playing alongside Dame and CJ than he was with Trent. Mm-hmm. And that way, you feel much more comfortable, even if you had to pay Powell $20 million and Trent $20 million. The fact that Trent's younger doesn't play into it as much as Powell can actually play alongside those two instead of only having to sub 2 out of the 3 in the game at once. So I think that's pretty telling that they didn't think Trent could play the 3, but they do think Powell can play the 3 alongside those guys.
Yeah. Important thing to know, he did call Powell a guard, though. I think he's going to be the guard off the bench. That kind of makes it sound like he's going to be the guard off the bench. But probably finishing or definitely playing next to Dame and CJ. Like, honestly, you got 24 backup guard minutes. He should be playing like 8 minutes at the 3, at least 8 minutes. He should be playing 32 minutes a game, maybe 33, 34, 8 to 10 of those next to Dame and CJ, maybe to end the half or end the game. So, I mean, he's worthy of that type of minutes load, considering how well he's played this year. Currently, he's playing 30 minutes a game.
And Hemcusto says Trent was 6'6", though. Trent was like 6'5", with like basically a 6'5" wingspan, maybe.
Yeah, it was listed as 6'8". That's why his standing reach measurements was so low. But basically, coming out of the draft, Trent's standing reach was measured at 8'2". Norman Powell's standing reach was measured at 8'6.5". So if you believe Trent's measurement is correct, which I feel like it's probably a little bit short. I don't know. How are you 6'5" with a 6'8" wingspan and only an 8'2" standing reach? I don't know. I mean, I'm 6'4" with like a 6'5" wingspan, and I have an 8'2" standing reach. So I don't really understand that, but yeah, I mean, he plays bigger. He does a better job of playing bigger than himself than Trent does. Powell does a good job of playing. Like, there are certain guys in the league where it's like measurement wise they might not stand out, but like they can play bigger than their physical attributes would suggest, and I think Powell's one of those guys.
And I'm trying to remember the last time we had a guy who was that good of a finisher on drives to the rim. Outside of, obviously, Dame has gotten really good at it, but maybe not lately. But over his career, he's a lot better than he was, especially if he gets a little bit of space. But Powell has the ability to get into the lane and on top of that, finish in traffic and with a multitude of angles and difficulty and stuff like that. So I think that's going to unlock a little bit of stuff just by default. Our ISO and pick and roll heavy offense, just having another shot creator, but one that's not doing it just off of like post ups or things like that. One who can actually drive and get to the basket. That's gonna be a little different look than we've normally seen.
Yes, agreed. So you want to talk about the rest of the players?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Melo, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 for 14 from the field, 4 for 7 from the three-point line. Had another good shooting game tonight, Eric. What do you think about Melo?
Yeah, Melo was pretty good. I thought we forced a little bit, but I like his shots. I'm surprised when he misses the clutch threes now, since he's so good at those. He had that wide open miss in the corner, but yeah, it's really nice to see Melo. And honestly, I mean, Norman Powell might overshadow him a little bit if he comes off the bench, but I mean, Melo's starting. He's obviously not going to catch Clarkson probably, but he's going to start catching some 6 man of the year votes and maybe finish in that top 3 if he continues to shoot this efficiently off the bench.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. He's just, the efficiency has been there lately for him. We've seen some stretches where he's had some really good passing games as well. So the production's been there.
And just one thing about, so Blockwine mentions he's got to pass out of the double teams, which I completely agree with. But there was one play where Melo got double teamed and Little cut. And instead of the double team staying and Little being open, the guy who was doubling had to back off of Melo to get Little's cut. And then Melo drove to the key. I think he ended up missing, but he ended up getting like a little 8-foot shot that was a fairly good shot. And so that's just like one example of how just one cut, even if it's not a creative set, just one person spontaneously cutting to the basket eliminated a double team and got Melo a good shot, even though he didn't pass out of it. And if they didn't back out of the double team, Little probably would have been open for a dunk there. So it's not that complicated. All they need is one person or some sort of action off the ball when he gets double teamed, because honestly, a lot of the times he got double tonight, I didn't feel like he had a place to pass even if he wanted to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Outside of Melo, Kanter, 18 points, 16 rebounds. Good typical Enes Kanter game for him. Nice to see him getting double-doubles again. Rocco shot 3 for 5 from the three-point line, continues his hot shooting. He's been phenomenal shooting the ball in the past month or so. Really enjoyed seeing him. I love seeing him knock down shots, because I like his form a lot. I like his form. And his form is just pleasing when the shot's going in. I've enjoyed watching him lately.
Yeah, and it was at least 3 plays in a row, if maybe even 4, where he got an offensive rebound and either put it right back in had a couple and ones during that stretch, and then the one kick out to Rocco for a three. He completely saved the game when our shots were not falling in the fourth quarter, and yeah, it's a great weapon to have if you're not shooting the ball well, to have that guy cleaning up on the offensive boards. And he absolutely saved us in the fourth quarter of this game.
Yeah, yes, he did. Anthony had 9 off the bench. Nice to see him shoot the ball well, 3 for 6 from the three-point line. He only shot threes in this game. Dunk contest champion that only shoots threes, man. Yeah, but, it's nice to see him shoot 3 for 6 from 3. Dropped in 9 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds in his 20 minutes. Nice to see him play well in probably the only legitimate playing time he's going to get if we're healthy for maybe the rest of the season at this point.
Yeah, you might think that he might get a chance a little bit to maybe show some improvement, kind of like Trent did last year. Depending on if guys rest at all or like what our injury situation is from game to game. Maybe he gets a crack at a little bit of Trent's minutes. It's going to be interesting to see who wins those minutes between him and Little if they both get equal opportunity to do so. My money would be on Little in that situation just based on how he's played lately. But yeah, I think between those two, one of them is going to be out of the rotation. But I think for a little while, they might give both of them a chance to take control of that.
Yes. Nasir Little had 5 points off the bench as well. He hit a 3. Nice to see him knock down a 3. He was 2 for 4 from the field as well. Also had an impressive defensive possession. The defensive possession of the game, man, where he just locked up Tyler Hero. I want to see him tasked with guarding the best players in the league. Because honestly, like, Rocco's an insane team defender, and he's a good on-ball defender, but I think Nasir Little, at least, when he's playing smart and being disciplined, could be our best on-ball defender. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that play you're talking about, then the next play down, he fights through a pick. It sticks on Tyler Hero, who came off dribbles, tries to shoot an on-the-move three-pointer, and Nas gets a piece of that one and knocks it out of bounds. So, yeah, 2 great possessions in a row. I want this guy to get minutes. I think the more minutes he gets now, the more he'll be ready for a bigger role later in the season. And I just think it's a matter of experience and getting film and being able to learn from mistakes at this point. And I absolutely want him to have that opportunity because, like you said, I don't think it's wrong to say that he might be our best defender. I think he might be, especially once he figures out some of the vet moves that are costing him. Sometimes, like some of those savvy veterans can roll one over on him occasionally, but once he figures out how to combat those kind of things, I think he's one of the few people who stays locked in almost 100% of the time. Even if he's in the wrong spot, he's still using as much effort as possible on that end.
Yep. And then the other player that we haven't mentioned is Derrick Jones Jr., who had 6 points, 3 rebounds, and assists in 23 minutes. He was 2 for 8 from the field, 1 for 4 from the three-point line. 50% of his shots are threes.
Yeah, I don't get it still, but
I mean, I know he's shooting the 3-ball decently, but I mean, shouldn't be his primary shot at this point. He's been shooting more threes than twos lately, and it's very frustrating. I like that he has the confidence in it, but I mean, could utilize him a lot better. Nice for him to have that go ahead dunk though, and one, and then he knocked down the free throw as well, which was big.
Especially against his old team.
Yeah, to put us up 2 so that they could only tie it when Bam hit that layup. So I wish we would have gotten him, some more buckets, some more big time plays against his former team. But it's still, nice for him to have a clutch bucket late. Let me just say this: that was a phenomenal pass by CJ. That's something that I haven't mentioned. That was a phenomenal pass by CJ. That was probably the best pass of the game. He gets up in the air, looks corner, looks off the defender, off of Derrick Jones Jr., then drops it. Just drops it perfectly. With like his left too, because like he had the ball over here and just drops it perfectly with his left for Derrick Jones Jr. It was that pass was impressive. Got to give that pass credit.
Yep, it almost didn't get through, but yeah, CJ found a way to get it to him. And like I said, when we were talking about CJ, I love that he won the game with a pass versus a shot. I know he can probably make that shot if he shoots it, even if he's on balance, losing the ball off 1 foot, fade away. I know he can make that shot, but why not pass in that situation to a wide open player and get an easy basket instead of having to make an incredibly difficult shot? And the easier shots we get like that, the better off we'll be, in my opinion.
Yep, agreed. So that was the players. As far as the Heat go, they had 29 performances from Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Adebayo's stat line's impressive. He had 29 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 blocks, which was apparently a career high. I would have thought that he would have had more blocks than that, being that he is a good rim protector. But according to TNT, that was a career high. So now he has matched Enes Kanter as a rim protector. Tyler Hero was 5 for 9 from 3. Duncan Robinson was 4 for 6 from 3. Those guys combined to hit 11 of their 16 threes. They shot a combined 9 for 15 from 3 for 60%. With those two guys, really kept them in the game. Andre Iguodala led their team at a plus 11, tied with Bam Adebayo. Trevor Ariza played 33 minutes. This is actually kind of eye-catching, Eric. In the 33 minutes that Trevor Ariza played, he was a minus 23.
Yeah. That year off rust is definitely going to take some time to knocking it off.
I mean, looking at it, though, it's like he was... he only had 1 turnover. He had an assist. He had a block. He had 5 rebounds. He was 3 for 7 for the field, 1 for 3 from 3. I don't know if that was just him being in at the wrong times and guys around him playing bad when he was in, or if that was something to do with him.
He came in when they were up 10, so that kind of hurts. And then he was in there for all the bad stretches of the first half and on the bench and all the good stretches.
Yeah, I just don't remember him playing that bad. It's just definitely wasn't in there at the right times at least. Other than that, they had Kendrick Nunn poured in 22. They needed another guy to step up and have a good offensive game, and he provided it. Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, two relatively unknown guys, both had 8 points apiece. Iguodala had 3 off the bench. Precious had 2 off the bench. That was the stat line for the Miami Heat. So that's anything else you want to touch on this game? I will get into the scores around the league, unless you got something else you want to say from this game specifically.
I was going to say something, but Shaggy Squid, real quick, go to I think it was the 19-minute mark when I said timestamp this, and then I went off about Giles. That's our Giles fan, Go back and watch that after the stream around 19-minute mark, maybe a minute or so after that, and But there was one more thing I was going to mention about the game, and I forget.
Well, I can go into scores, and then if you remember it, so Blazers, of course, beat the Heat 125-122, moved to 26-18. The Clippers beat the Spurs
I remember real quick since
go ahead. Go ahead.
So TNT during the game brought up the graphic.
Oh yeah.
Last in assists, last in passes per game. Last in, I thought there was one other thing.
Second in isolation.
Second in isolation.
Yeah.
So we fall into second from first. I'm guessing maybe Brooklyn's overtaken us in that. But not a good stat to have TNT bring up. I forgot what the third one was. But there was 3 things that we were last in, as we always saw.
Yep. All right.
Go ahead with the scores.
Around the NBA scores, you got the Clippers beating the Spurs 98-85. Reggie Jackson, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the Clippers. DeJounte Murray had 18 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds in the loss for the Spurs. The Spurs are falling off hard, Eric. They're at 22-20. LaMarcus Aldridge got released today, got bought out. Essentially, they didn't make... they acquired Marquise Chris, who is out for the season. That was their big move today. The Clippers are starting to gain steam again, are starting to play better basketball. They moved to 30-16. The Knicks beat the Wizards 106-102. The Knicks are now one game above 500. They're just hovering, teetering back and forth. A game above 500, a game below 500. They beat the Wizards 106-102. RJ Barrett, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. He's been playing very good basketball lately. Rui Hachimura, my Gonzaga guy, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. The Knicks had a late 13-1 run to fuel their comeback win. The Kings beat the Warriors. No, this game is still going on. I'm tripping. It's 84-70 right now. 7:45 left in the third quarter. The Kings are up over the Warriors. De'Aaron Fox has 25 points and 5 assists early on in the third. Andrew Wiggins has 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists for the Warriors. Warriors are currently sitting at 22-22. They lose this game. They're below 500. The Kings have started to play better basketball. They're at 19-25. They ended up pouring in 72 points in the first half, so they're kind of like us, just not as good offensively. Very bad defense. They got to get it done offensively, and they've had a good offensive game so far against the Warriors. And then the game that's on TNT right now, the second of the doubleheader between us and the Heat and Sixers and Lakers. That's the Sixers and Lakers. They're tied at 54 right now. Schroeder has 14 points, 5 assists for the Lakers. Danny Green has 13 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal. Danny Green's still on the Sixers. I don't know why his agent or whatever was tweeting that he was getting traded to the Golden State Warriors. That was confusing earlier, but he's performing pretty well for the Sixers tonight. They're tied at halftime.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there either.
Yeah, weird. So let me pull up the standings real quick. Let's see. Maybe Stotts interviewed. Nah, I don't know. I don't got a standings thing.
We didn't really talk about it much, but I thought getting George Hill was a nice pickup for the Sixers.
Yeah, it was a good pickup. Fits in extremely well because he can play off the ball, off of Simmons, and then also initiate offense as well.
Yep.
So Portland is currently tied for 5th with Denver. It seems like we've been tied with Denver for 5th for a really long time. We are both us and the Nuggets are 6.5 games back of the Jazz. The Lakers are ahead of us in 4th, only 2 games ahead of us. They're 4.5 games back. That is a team we could definitely pass, considering how much time Anthony Davis is still set to miss and how LeBron's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a team that I expect us to pass. You got the Clippers, who are playing better lately. They're only 3 games ahead of us, and they're in the 3 seed. They are 30-16. They're 3.5 back of the Jazz. The Suns are in 2nd, 3.5 games ahead of us. They are 3 games back of the Jazz. They just lost to the Magic. Surprising loss for them. Hopefully we can gain some ground. You're bringing Norman Powell in. You're getting Yusuf Nurkic back. Hopefully they can. Hopefully, defensively we can figure some things out. Because if we do, we're a really good team. We're a really good team, and we got a chance, if we do figure things out, we got a chance to catch some of these teams ahead of us and get home court advantage. Probably not going to matter much, but it'd be nice to have a 3 seed, especially a 2 seed, because right now I think there's a pretty clear-cut top 6, and that's Utah, Phoenix, the LA teams, Denver, and Portland. Dallas is in there too. You might group them in that, top 7, but it would be nice to just see how high we can get in the standings.
Well, to your comment that it might not matter for home court advantage, so apparently, I don't know if it's the Blazers or someone applied for the governor to approve having fans in the stands, and many other of the teams that we'd be playing against have fans in the stands. So can you imagine us getting home court advantage, and on top of that, being able to have fans in the Moda Center, and how raucous that would be, even if it was a limited amount of fans? I think it would be crazy in there just being back and rooting. If that was the first time was in the playoffs, on top of the intensity of the playoffs and getting to have fans back, that might be a really big boost to this team, especially some of the guys who thrive off that energy. And I can't imagine. It might not mean a whole lot, but I don't know, just a little bit of having fans and getting home court advantage might be a good reward for this team and might boost them up a little bit.
Yeah, I just feel like it's probably not going to be enough fans to create any sort of atmosphere. You know what I mean? Any sort of playoff atmosphere. But, it's better than nothing, of course. We'll see how that plays out. The playoffs aren't until 2 months from now. So I mean, we'll just wait and see how it plays out. I'm expecting a little something. So home court advantage might matter slightly. We just have to wait and ride things out and see what happens. So anyway, anything else you want to talk on from this game, Eric?
Nope. I think we pretty much covered most of the game stuff.
Yep. As I said, this was going to be a shorter stream. We streamed for 4 hours earlier today. The trade deadline stream, if you want to go back and watch parts of that, feel free. You can see our reaction to the Norman Powell trade there. I think it occurred about an hour and 20 minutes into the stream. You can look at the graphics and look at the Twitter to see kind of when it happened. That's probably the easiest way to kind of just scrub back and find our initial reaction to that trade. So anyway, thank you to everybody for your guys' support, for your support earlier on the trade deadline stream, and then for you tuning in to this post-game show. The Blazers are able to get this win over Miami. Good win to get. They now go into Orlando against a very depleted. I mean, they're not depleted because they traded everybody away, so it's not like they'd have them anyway. It's a very bad Orlando Magic team now, and what should hopefully be the easiest game of the season. This was the last game without Jusuf Nurkic, unless something crazy happens, knock on wood and all that. Nurkic has had enough setbacks as it is, but hopefully he doesn't strain his calf stepping out of the team bus or anything. I mean, just be careful. Got to wrap Nurkic in bubble wrap at this point, and then roll him onto the court at the start of games, or roll him out of the bubble wrap. So you just got to preserve that man. But yeah, you got Nurkic coming back. Excited for that. Norman Powell might make his debut tomorrow. If not, his debut will very likely come against the Toronto Raptors instead. So you got some exciting moments that are going to come up. The Blazers have 3 relatively easy games to end March. They have, as I said, they play the Magic, then they go on the road to play the Toronto Raptors, which has been playing very bad basketball, and then they play the Detroit Pistons. So hopefully they can go 4-0 on this road trip. Then they come home, face Milwaukee. That's obviously a tough game, and then you got OKC at home as well. But hopefully they can go 4-0 on this road trip. That would leave them at 29-18, and that would give them some good momentum. Getting Nurkic back healthy and having Norman Powell in tow would give them a good momentum boost, going into the stretch run of the season. Of course, we've seen this team have momentum and then act like they don't have momentum. I mean, momentum doesn't seem to really affect this team negatively or positively, but I mean, it's always nice to go on a 4-game road trip and win them all. I mean, that's pretty good, especially when the bar that the team has set is 500. So that post-game stream is coming up tomorrow, man. We got a Friday night stream, so we'll be right back at it again tomorrow. Hopefully you're able to catch us. If not, hopefully you have a good Friday night. Eric, anything you want to sign off with, man?
No, just excited to get Nurk back. He will be on a minutes restriction. I'm not sure what that means or how many minutes that is. So he will be limited, but it'll just be nice to see him on the floor. Hopefully he's in shape, at least better shape than he was at the beginning of the season. And then we have our two-headed monster back at center, and it'll be nice to see how those guys play off each other, not on the floor, but, filling in and doing some of the same things once the other person leaves the floor instead of being without a center during that time.
Yep, agreed. So anyway, that's going to wrap up today's stream. Today's day of streaming, man. I've been streaming, sleeping, or watching Blazer basketball all day long. So now I'll go enjoy, kick back, relax a little bit, and just, glad to be, done with everything that went in today. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's nice to be able to move past it at the same time. So, anyway. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you have a good rest of your night. We will catch you tomorrow. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.